Well, it's another Wake Up with KC, and today I have a very special guest. I had her on before, but there was audio issues, so she is so happy to come back on and let's redo this interview. And I always talk about reinventing yourself, life transformation and whatnot. But what about if you're in your early 60s and then you go through things and have realization of, hold up, I want to do something new and different. And I have a very special guest joining us today. Please welcome Esther Brzezinski.
Hey, how are
Esther!
you? We're back, and the audio's good. Yay! Excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it. And yes, transitions. That's my story, 100%.
And I mean, I didn't even know what I wanted to do, like what my passion was. Usually when you're in school, they try to tell you get a good job, get grades and whatnot, or get good grades and then get a good job, go to college and all this other stuff. I never resonated with that. But then I also was like, what do I do? But then I got married, had kids, and then it was like, okay, you got to get a job, you got to take care of kids, you got to take care of a house. But I didn't really know what I was passionate about until I was in my 40s.
I hear you. Yeah, that's not so uncommon. And that's pretty much what happened to me. However, in my case, it started in my early 60s. And though I had a passion for it when I was younger, it was basically disregarded by others. And I was told, oh, that you could never make a living doing that. So I always had an interest in acting. I did do a little bit in my early 20s. And of course, at the time, my parents and my ex-husband discouraged me greatly. I was supposed to attend a theater school. In the end, I went to what we have here, CJEP University, and I studied psychology, though I had an interest in that as well. And so many years later, after sort of stumbling across voiceover work, just at a party where somebody approached me and said, hey, you have a great speaking voice. Have you ever considered voiceover work? I looked into it. I started taking classes. I was in my early 60s. And from doing voiceover classes and some work, I realized that, I really should take some acting classes because there's a lot of acting required in voiceover work. And I started taking some acting classes, but I was not like full force into it. It was sort of like a side hustle, so to speak. I had a fashion accessory home-based business, and I was doing a lot of pop-up sales. I was in a store for many years where I was a partner with someone. So it was not something that I took seriously. And I continued to pursue it. Of course, there was the lockdown, and so I really couldn't do the business. I kind of sort of faded out of that and focused on voiceover work. And then I got extremely ill in December of 20 I think it was 2020. Yes, it was December of 2020. It was not COVID. I had a tear in my upper it was actually my duodenum, and I was violently ill, and they were throwing all kinds of diagnosis at me. And I had many, many tests. I was had a my stomach was pumped for 6 days. I was there for 8 days, and I was told all kinds of horrendous possibilities, what they call differential diagnosis. And it was terrifying and frightening. And finally, the last tests, it didn't seem that there was anything, but they still did some biopsies, and I had to wait 2 weeks to find out the results. And when I got the results and I realized that it was caused by an ulcer, and that, in fact, I was going to be okay, I made the decision, I'm going to go for it. I've always wanted to act. I just decided to do the full package. I took master classes online, went and got headshots, and pursued getting an agent, and just went full force into it. And in that journey, I also met some people who were into podcasting. and they introduced me to, how to use the, like yourself, I use StreamYard, and so like all the basics, and one individual in particular, Mr. Robert D'Alessio, he taught me the ins and outs of it, and I started pursuing guests. So I was doing podcasting. I was putting myself out there as an actor. Of course, there wasn't much I could do because in Montreal, Quebec, in particular, the lockdown was very severe. So you really couldn't do very much. And for 4 months, all sets were shut down. So I just pursued learning and getting into podcasting. And in addition, I also started getting more into content creation just because I was already kind of online doing things. And by fluke, I did a video on TikTok, of all places, because I only had like 70 followers and I was rarely on there. But I started putting some of my podcast stuff on there. I decided to do a video about ageism, where I put an aging filter on me and said, I'm 64 years old and people expect me to look like this instead of, and then I showed what I really looked like. And I wrote that phrase, age is not my cage, which I heard somebody say, my age is not my cage, which I really resonated with. And it blew up. So that was very telling. I realized that wow, that really resonates with people. And there's like a community out there. So I also pursued that as well. So here I am, 65 years young, and I'm doing content creation, I'm acting, I'm doing a bit of voice work, and I'm podcasting. And who would have thought at 65 that all these new things would be happening to me? And I'm loving every second of it.
Wow. That is impressive just because of phew, I gotta sneeze. Oh
Bless
my
you.
gosh, sorry.
That was adorable. That was an adorable sneeze.
Um, the allergies here are
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
I
woo.
know. I know. It's bad
It
there.
seems like Florida, it's all year round. There's something different, blooming or whatever. Um, wow, because when the pandemic started happening, here where I'm at, I went back to school to brush up my skills from Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And then
Wow.
October 15th of 2020, I launched my podcast. And it's funny because, like you said earlier, you got discouraged because of what other people said. But deep
Unfortunately,
down, your gut, your soul essence was like screaming at you, do it, do it, do it, do it. And I hear that, you know, we deny ourselves our true essence, our true authenticity because of fear, because of what other people say.
sadly true.
And that's like a doggone shame.
Absolutely, I agree. And I'm living proof of it. And highly suggest to anyone, if you have a passion for something, just go for it. Don't let others talk you out of it. Don't listen to the naysayers, because, you can't go pleasing others. You have to please yourself. And if you're not happy, you can't be happy for the others around you. And, definitely lesson learned big time.
And because somebody else is not happy and they're not fulfilling their dreams, or they gave up on their dreams, they're wanting you to do the same thing.
Of course, misery loves company, number one. And of course, and this is another thing. It's interesting. In one of my podcasts, I talk about jealousy. We did a whole show on jealousy. And in fact, there was a lot of that in my journey, that I had very good friends who just sort of like, poof, went away because I was podcasting, because I was acting, and I was having some success, and they didn't like that. They liked, miserable, unhappy Esther. Like, they didn't like this new Esther. Like, who is this? She's doing well. We don't like it. So 100%.
Good riddance.
Yeah,
They weren't your friends anyway.
exactly. Exactly. So that's unfortunately the way things happen often.
And it's like it's amazing to me, even through my journey of recognizing, my own insecurities, my own fears. And then, that's how belief systems are created, not by just like, growing up hearing, you know, what people are telling you of how you should be, what you should be doing, and whatnot. But then you start creating your own beliefs as well. And we get in our way.
Oh, yes, we do. And I think women especially tend to do that. Like we're more geared to be people pleasers and, to sort of accommodate others. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy because of that.
And our most inner critic, too.
Oh, jeez, I could talk for hours about that one. I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too old. No, 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 no. Stop that. I say stop the narrative and just like create a new narrative because you're never going to be satisfied. And you know what? Who you are is who, you'd be surprised how much the world wants who you are. They do.
And I've noticed lately there's been like a change to where people are now done with the bullshit that they're hearing. And now they really want like someone who speaks truth, that's
Yes.
real, authentic.
Exactly, and I hear that a lot, and I know I spoke earlier about TikTok, and guys, TikTok is not for a bunch of teenagers just dancing. There's a huge community of 50-plussers on there, and they are just dying to have people talk the truth, talk about what they're going through and how they're feeling, and I get so many private messages, comments, the engagement is crazy, because they go like, "Oh my god, yeah, yeah, that's how I feel," or, "Yeah, yeah, I can't believe you're saying that," or "Thank you for saying that because that's what I'm going through," and, so it just became it just sort of blew up and it made me realize that you're exactly what you're saying. They wanna hear the truth, the reality, and I motivate a little bit, but I also say, "You know what really sucks about being in your 60s?" And I talk about it too, like, yeah, there's some days I feel like crap and other days I feel great, and that's something that I've learned to adjust, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, me too." Like, "I can't believe you're saying that, everybody expects me to do XYZ," or on the other hand, you could still go out and pursue your dreams, it doesn't matter regardless of your age, and it's like, "Yes, that's what I wanna hear." So, there's a lot of people who wanna hear the truth and want people who are authentic. Yes, absolutely.
And that's one of the things about my show. I'm going to be authentic. There's no filter because I'm at that age now. It's like, I really don't fucking care anymore,
Yes,
kind of
she said
thing.
the F word. Love
And
it.
I just, you want the truth? Okay, I'm going to give you the truth. But, you know, a lot of people have accepted the denial,
Yeah.
or they believe in other people's truths and belief system, and they never thought to question. They've accepted it, and it comes from childhood growing up,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
100%.
And there's things that I question, on, I'll talk about religion to where I talk about the history of it. Like, hold up a second, something doesn't add up here, you know. I study ancient civilization and trying to connect the dots, and then I'll reveal, hey, this is what I've discovered. Let that be food of thought. Question your own beliefs.
Oh, yes, I've been doing that since I was a child. My parents were Holocaust survivors, and my father came from a very, very religious, Jewish background, and while this horrifying things were happening, his father would sit and read the Bible, and my father had to go out and, get food as a child, and it was just, it's like where so believing in all this, how did it help that, 6 million of our people were murdered just for being for having a different religion, and that their family members were my mother's mother and father were killed right in front of her. She had to go in hiding. I mean, the stories are horrendous, and I was told them growing up, and so when it came to religion, I had a very hard time with it. I still struggle with it and the concept of God and all that because of what my families have gone through. How could that be allowed to happen? What did they do to deserve that type of treatment? Children, mothers, grandmothers, like what? What? I have a great deal of problem with that, and my parents were both quite damaged because of it. My mother has post traumatic stress disorder that she never addressed because it was frowned upon to seek help. She's in her 90s now, and she has a lot of difficulties because of the trauma of all that, and all that is based on the fact that she was a Jew in Poland in the in the 30s. Obviously when the war broke out in 1940, etc. And how does that make sense? I
Yeah.
questioned, like, what? And I'm supposed to believe all this after that happens? I lived in a world of doom and gloom all the time because of that. And at the same time, I was told, "Oh, don't go play with the neighbors because they're not Jewish, and they may turn on you." That's my mother saying that because of the trauma she went through, because she was best friends with her neighbors, and the Nazis came and said, "Oh, where are the Jews?" And they pointed to the house next door, and that, like, so yes, it sounds crazy, but that's real, and that's these are stories I heard as a child. So you talk about questioning religion? Oh yeah, I could
Oh,
have a
yeah,
show about
because if
that on.
people really knew the truth about religion, it was to control,
Well, of
dominate,
course,
conquer, divide. And
yes,
if you didn't convert over to religion,
yeah,
especially Christianity back in history,
yeah,
what they did, the
I know.
torturing, I mean, it's it's horrific. And why would you want to be a part of that?
Yeah, so I hear you, and I know this is very controversial, but listen, we're speaking our truths. This is how we feel. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're taking away from other people's beliefs. I have to sort of try to respect what people believe in, but I, like you, question and control 1,000%. It was always about control, in my opinion. It exists today, the control. So I see it clearly because I grew up the way that I did. And I do all the traditional holidays more out of the culture of it. And because it was a culture that at one time people just wanted to obliviate, just get rid of. And so I feel very strongly about, no, it's never going to happen again. And we have to be strong and we have to be proud. And so that's how I feel about it. But I don't look at it from a religion perspective. It's more out of the culture of it. It's a beautiful culture. I'm very proud. And I taught my kids, listen, my boyfriend is Italian. My daughter married an Italian boy. So their child, they have a boy, 3 months old, and he's going to be, their decision is to expose him to both religions, both cultures, etc. And it'll be eventually his choice. But it's unfortunate that there's that struggle. That Why does he have to make a choice? Can't he just, like,
Just let him be and let him discover it
yeah,
on his own journey. Don't
right,
like put him in it when he's, especially at a young child's age, they have no freaking clue.
yeah,
Wait until they get into their teenage years and become an adult, then let them venture out and discover it themselves.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. So
and
that's their journey. I see it from the outside. There are some things here and there, and I can really see it coming up, but we just have to let it be. And it's it's sad that we have to be concerned about it. There shouldn't be a concern.
but here's another thing that people don't realize. I talk about emotional energetic traumas. Okay, what the trauma you experienced based on your religion of what you were brought up and your mother and her mother and whatnot, that is emotion, energy and motion. Okay, it went from your grandmother to your mother to you even.
Oh, 100%. And to my daughter and son. They're grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, and they have all the characteristics, so to speak. They have that
It's
anxiety and
energy, it's
yeah,
emotion, that
yeah,
feeling.
yeah,
So my question is, how much further back does it go based on the history that I studied?
yeah. So I remember being fascinated in high school with Mesopotamia, like,
Yep.
that that I don't know what that was, something about their culture was fascinating to me. I
Because
get it.
Mesopotamian, if you understand about Sumerian writings, the cuneiform and the texts back then, they were like the first civilization to actually write. And then the mathematics, and then I like doing my studies and research. I'm like, how do they know about property taxes? How do they even know about wages? How do they know about physicians and this and that and the other? And it's not just then you got the Sumerian kings, and then these gods, because there was more than one. It was like a rank, a title of who was reigning and whatnot. They were considered gods, kings, lords, things like that. So I'm connecting the dots. I'm like, oh, I see where this is going. Like now I'm connecting the dots. I'm like, holy shit. Like I can't believe people are so ignorant that they're not really learning their history, because if you don't learn your history, you're destined to repeat it. And I see we're repeating it. It's just a different time. It's taken a different form, and it's also in a different time period. It's like a movie screen going off in my mind's eye, my third eye. It's showing me, and I'm like, okay, how do we wake up? How do I get everybody to wake up so we don't have to repeat this, not just for ourselves in this time, but the future generations for, coming up?
It's a tough one, and it's hard to make people to or difficult to make people see what you see and understand the way you understand things. We as adults of children of Holocaust survivors, because my ex-husband was also a child of Holocaust survivors. One of the things that we believe strongly is to never forget, like never forget what happened because of that. Because if you forget, history may repeat itself. And that's exactly why we talked about it with our kids and why we expose them to it. And even the schools talk about it as well, to understand, racism and anti-Semitism, all that it exists big time because of people not really understanding and not looking at history and not seeing what really occurred, and the reasons why it occurred. So people sometimes just want to see what's right in front of them and just want to believe what's told to them, and that's it. They've had enough. It's just like, that's all I want. I don't want to know
But then
anymore. I don't
you're in
want to.
denial. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
how the education system only gives you tidbits. Like they don't tell you how horrific Christopher Columbus was and what he actually did, and all the sexual diseases that he gave to the indigenous tribes, and how they tortured them and killed them. They went on their land. They were there first,
Right.
and it was all for greed and coming from Europe, their religion, and if they didn't convert to the religion, what they did to them. And they're like, we're going to set the chief and the wife as an example, and torture them and kill them to get these other tribes no idea of English or Spanish. You don't even understand what the language was going on in those times. So it's like you only get bits and pieces of what they want to share with you in the education system. And another thing, they don't want to be held accountable for their ancestors partake in what they did.
Yeah. But there are some cultures that do want to take responsibility. I have to say that my parents both received funds from Germany because of being survivors of the Holocaust and being in concentration camps, etc. So there was this outpour of funds for those individuals. So there is some, you know, there are some cultures that say, yes, we did that. We apologize, and here what can we do to help? How can we make it better? So there is some of that, I have to say. I do see that because both my parents received pensions because of it. My mother still receives a pension from Germany. So that says
Well,
a lot. That's taking responsibility.
it's taken some responsibility, but how do you heal from the emotional trauma? How do you transmute that in alchemy to where your body actually heals?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think that it's our personal journey. And, you know, I sometimes think that I always have a dark cloud over me because of it, and I fight it a lot because I have a very sunny disposition. I smile a lot. I try to see the good in people and the good in things, but I do have this sort of dark cloud that I fight, and I know it's because of all that, that it's always there. So it's a difficult to heal. Um, I have had therapy in my life where it was brought up, and yeah, it's definitely a part of who I am. It's a tough one. How do you heal from that? I don't know. I don't know. It's our own, we all have our personal journey with it.
Well, I do some channeling, being an intuitive transmedium. I use energy and like the spirit guides to help with that.
Oh, cool.
So that's, I'm glad we brought this up because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going today.
I had no idea we were talking about, but look, yeah, you never know, right? Where conversation takes you. So
Yeah. And
this it's
that's my passion. Is like is like bits and pieces of my calling, what my sole purpose is, and not
right.
knowing until, but then looking back I had little pieces that were presented and I just didn't recognize it until later on.
Yeah,
Now
that's
it's all coming together and I'm like, oh,
transitions,
okay.
changes. It listen, in a different way, that's exactly what I'm going through, just doing this whole adventure into the entertainment industry, content creation, all that. Like how did that happen? But it was always kind of there. And for some reason, I have to do it.
Hmm.
And I'm a bit of an introvert on top of that. Yet it had to come out. So, yes, we need to listen to those little, because they were there all along, and we have to pay attention to what our calling is. Like, what is it that, um, it's interesting because I had a psychic on my show, and you might even know him, Artie Hoffman. Oh,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, yeah,
what do
yeah.
you have to say?
So he kinda like, he did a reading on me, which I didn't like, I kind of wanted him to, but didn't really want him to, so I sort of said, "So what happens during a reading?" And he said, "Okay, I'm gonna do a reading on you." What? This is live, right? Like live, live. And he sort of said, he said, "Well, you want to be famous, but you don't want to be that famous. You want to be known, but you don't want to be that known because you don't want to put everything like you don't want to put all the work into it, and you're all a little scared." And he went on, "What?" And the fact of the matter is that's sort of been a struggle I've had all along. It's that the part of me wanted to like be in front of the world, and at the same time I enjoyed being, in my bedroom alone. So it's definitely a struggle. And he also said there was something wrong with my car, and he was right, by the way. So, yeah, he said actually I had to get rid of that car, not just because of that, it was getting old, but he said, "Be careful, there's an issue with the blah, 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 blah." And my boyfriend who does the technical stuff in the background on StreamYard, he was going, "Yeah, yeah, I know about it." Like, "What?" It's like, I didn't know. So, yeah, so just in case he really like, I don't know how this guy does it, but he's kind of the real deal in many ways because that freaked me out. So yes, but he did say that, and that's very much true. And so there's that struggle to being who you were meant to be. We struggle, and we have to go with the little signs. And even that was kind of a sign that, yeah, that's kind of the path you should be taking, even though it frightens you. You just want a little bit of it, but so even him saying that, it made me realize, and it took me, of course, a few months to sort of, make some different, take some different steps rather to say, okay, yeah, all right, I'm putting myself out there even more. If it happens, it happens. I'm 65. Like here's my last, that's how I feel. It's last chance. Okay, go out and pursue it. And so that's another factor, interestingly enough, was that little kind of, other little hints and signs.
Yeah, and if we caught that early on, I can only imagine how our lives would just be, but at least we didn't miss it. So that's a good thing. And I
Yeah.
would tell everybody, don't miss it. You know, we have this misconception of who we are, a false identity of who we are. But if we could just wake up, like wake yourself up, and you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza is a great mentor of mine, and he's like, "Why do you have to wait for a catastrophe to happen to wake up?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
not wake up now?" Do a reevaluation. Where is your life now? Are you happy? And you'll learn and discover that you've been actually living somebody else's life.
Or to please others or others' expectations of what you should be doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where beliefs and programs. And then then you had traumas that you didn't realize you had. Everything starts like coming to the surface. So you become free, to be. And then you discover your passions. You discover, and that's living life.
Oh, absolutely. I like I said before, if you have it in your heart, if you have a passion, just go after it, just don't waste time. I don't have regrets per se, but I have learned a huge lesson about, sort of bearing the passions that I had so that I could be, a good wife, a good mother,
Hmm.
a good career woman and do all the right things. Um,
The sacrifices.
yeah, yeah. You know, I don't regret doing it. Listen, my 31-year-old son is on the spectrum of autism, and I spent a lot of time with him. It was the right thing to do.
Hmm.
I was there, and it was so in some ways, it worked out the way it was supposed to. I did a lot of, work with him and bringing him to different, appointments, and now he's a singer-songwriter. He's very good. Yeah.
Wow, that
Yeah,
was so amazing.
so I help him, get to find a producer. I put him on, the streaming platforms. I got him a couple of guys to do music videos, etc. David Sean Music or David Sean on YouTube, and yeah, that's so. It wasn't wasted time, of course, because here was this kid who had challenges, but also had this crazy talent. I needed to be there. I needed to
But
be there.
you learned a lot in the process about producing. So it was a
Yes,
little piece to the puzzle of, okay, we're going to give you little like wisdom through experiencing by helping your son recognize his talents, his gifts, and lining him up to people that's also going to help you with you producing your podcast. See, it's like connecting the dots.
sort of, yes, in many ways, yeah. There was definitely a connection and also people that I met on my journey, who were filmmakers, and actually the 2 videos he did were done by different filmmakers that I met in my journey. So that sort of happened for a reason too. That like I met so and so and he was able to actually do his first music video, and through him I met this other individual who recommended a producer, and so like a second producer because the first one during the pandemic moved back to South America, so we had to find a new producer, and it was all through these people that I would meet in my journey. So it's
Synchronicities.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's sort of interconnected, and he's been on podcast as well, as a guest, talking about being neurodiverse and his challenges, and also his music and his passion. And he writes all his own music. I mean, it's brilliant.
I would love to have him on my show. Oh my
Oh
god.
my goodness. Okay. He's a little shy, but he pushes through it because that's part of, the socialization. But, but there are people out there who are high functioning and you wouldn't even know it. They do this thing that, well, they call it masking. They've learned how to adapt to the world. And so they know how to put on the right facial expressions and whatnot. But deep down inside, they don't really feel that comfortable, but they've learned
Right.
to live with that. So yeah, so with David, it's a bit he has and he hasn't, but no, he would love it. Are you kidding? He would, yeah,
Oh,
he would love it.
it would be like awesome to have him, especially because he loves music and I love music.
Oh wow.
I love music. I love dancing. Any aspect that's like the form of arts. Like I love the art aspect in all genres, like between sculpting, painting, music, dancing, all of that. So if I could ever get a guest on my show that's loves music, a music artist, I like to promote them, have them on my show, and just talk about them.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, he would love it. I love that. What is age does not make Yeah, no, that expression, like I said, I heard it. I heard somebody say, "My age is not my cage." I change it to "Age is not my cage," because exactly what we're talking about. Just because I'm in my mid-60s does not stop me from pursuing my passions and starting something new, which is it's important. It helps you. I actually feel that it keeps me young, so to speak.
Mhm.
And age, I know everybody says this, age is just a number, it's just blah blah chronological, doesn't match who you are, blah blah blah. But you have to really believe it. And yes, there are differences physically. Yes, it is a bit,
Mhm.
you are a little bit slower. It can, there can be certain things that happen because of it, but it shouldn't stop you from being the person that you were always meant to be and doing what you always knew you were meant to do. It is so important. So, and we're living so much longer now. So, retiring at 65, well, maybe in the corporate world, but now you're in your second half, chapter 2. There's so much you can do.
Yeah, and there's so much to live for. And if you took, I'm all about like starting to transition into a healthier, like what you consume, what you eat. This is the temple right here.
Right.
What you eat. So I'm transitioning. uh Girl, I was brought up southern, so it was sweet tea.
Ah, okay.
And I got to a point where like I felt like inside of me, it's like I just can't do tea anymore. And it's been a few years now, and I just can't drink tea. It's just like something happened, like something inside of me is like no. And I just didn't taste right, and now I just, yeah, getting rid of dairy. you know I love Italian, I love Mexican, so it's like, that's a struggle to, try to get not the processed cheeses and whatnot. I just want like real cheese. Limit my dairy. So it's like a slow transition, but it's, and then what I put on my skin.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just, it's, this is my journey now.
I think it's amazing that you're going through that journey. And by the way, as you age, that we're talking about, age is not my cage, there are changes in your body, in your skin, your hair, and people have a hard time adjusting to that. I mean, speaking from my own experience, it's like, oh well, I always have, really long hair and blah blah blah. No, but your hair just, it's not working anymore. You have to accept, you have to do all these treatments. I know you have very long hair, and I did until about a year ago. So it's like, okay, now my hair has changed. It's a dryer. It's this. I have to use all these treatments. I have to adjust, like something as simple as that. My skin is more sensitive than it used to be. Why is that? It was never like that before. It's also the process of aging. Things do change. So we have to adapt to that as well. And we have to live a healthier lifestyle. We should have started. And we come from an era where it wasn't a thing. Not really. It wasn't. Even
No, it
exercise
was,
wasn't a thing. Not
well,
until
here in the
later.
US, I don't know about Canada, but in the US, everything is instant gratification.
Right.
There's corporations that just want to profit and sell whatever, and the FDA, it, just, passes it through. There's only 11 products that are banned here in the US, but there's
Wow.
over 1,100 banned in Europe.
That's
What does that
interesting.
tell you? Granted, yes, as we age, but then what are we putting in our system that's like depleting, to where we age more? Our hair and our skin is as we age because we're not getting enough nutrients that we need to maintain,
Yeah.
and it's like you're only, what was it I said to you before? It's like you're only as old as you feel.
Right.
So it's me, changing, some of my eating, what I'm eating and what not, what I'm putting, like what makeup am I using, what skincare am I using, what shampoo am I using, um, and making sure I have sex 3 or 4 times a week.
What is that?
I said making sure I have sex 3 or 4
Oh,
times a week.
I said, is that a product I can buy? Like what is that? You only you use that 3 4 like what is that? Because you look great. Like I'll buy it. Okay, yes, that is important. It's true.
It
It's true.
is. I wish I could have sex in the morning to start my day and sex at night to end my day because it's like the biggest stress reliever, honestly.
It is definitely a stress reliever, and it is extremely healthy for you, and in many even the release of the endorphins and as a
Anti-aging.
yeah, and a relaxant, and yes, and also great for your skin. Some byproducts from that apparently if you apply and I'm just kidding. And now we're X-rated. So yeah, that's yeah, I thought you could get that in a bottle, but okay. So I said,
Oh
"What did
my
she
god.
say?" Because of your southern accent, I wasn't sure, which you do have. It's adorable. I love it. Wasn't sure what you said. Okay, yes, let's get some of that. So
Hey, I'm
there's an affiliate program I'd sign up for. Why didn't
I'm
we think
just
of that?
being
But it's free sometimes. Yeah,
real. Well, yeah. Yeah.
depends.
And there's a
No.
lifestyle that you can, get into if you're that open and yeah.
I did a show on polyamory. It was, and I was fascinated with it because it's like, okay, you have an open relationship and you can have other relationships and sometimes you bring a third party and a fourth party and there's all these people living this lifestyle and I was like, "Oh my god." I was fascinated and I did a show about it with my co-host on our afternoon noon hour out of the box and he was so uncomfortable talking about it. I thought he was going to faint. He's actually quite religious, right? And so he was dying. He was like, because he didn't really, I don't think he understood exactly what I meant by polyamory because I did the research for it. So I sort of like, so then we started talking about it and he went, oh, oh, okay. So yeah, there's different lifestyles, different strokes for different folks. I actually kind of understand it. It's not for everyone, but
No, you would have to, like, I couldn't even imagine doing that because it sounds like you need an event planner to schedule everything and
well, that's exactly what my co-host said. He said, "So how do they? What do they? They go on Google and plan it out? Do they have like meetings? How does that does that work out?"
well,
And I'm going, "Well, yeah, actually, there's a lot of planning and there's a lot of discussion and there's a lot of yeah. This is just from pure research, but really, it's definitely out
there
there."
there is some, but there's another lifestyle that is like it's a swinging lifestyle.
Yes, yes, there's swinging lifestyle as well. Yeah, which is different from polyamory. And
Yes.
there, yeah, and it's very much out there as well. There are a lot of YouTube channels now devoted to it. There's a lot of even if you go on TikTok, a lot of people they can't really say certain things because they're very strict on TikTok, but that's basically what they talk about. And 100%. I remember being a teenager and one of my friend's parents were swingers, and he was trying to explain to me like what would happen. They owned a motel somewhere in the states and he discovered this as a teenager because like all these people would come and they'd go to different and so he came back to Montreal and said, "I don't know, this is what's happening with my parents, but they said they were swingers." Like, so we like we were like, "Gee, I wonder what that means." And so that was my first introduction because he had parents, believe it or not, who were into that lifestyle. So that was my first discovery. And it's like, wow, it's interesting. But listen, if it makes you happy, if
Yeah.
it's what you wanna do, I like 100%. My feeling I'm very, very open, so I get it. I get it from all different perspectives. I you know, I could understand it. If it's explained to me, I can I guess it's an ability to have put yourself in someone else's shoes. I guess it's a strong
Mhm.
empathy that I have that I could see. Yeah, I get it. I do get it.
I
So
just like it opened honestly. when I was,
I
I
like how the show is going so far. I like where we're heading. So
well,
listen.
I'm like naive. Even my boyfriend, my partner, he's like, I can't believe how naive you are. And I'm like, well, I really never lived life until my 50s. Now I'm starting to live life because I've been a mom. I've been this, I've been that.
Of
That's
course.
all I've done. So I thought when he when we started dating, he went to me and he goes, I would like to be in a relationship and enjoy my lifestyle. So I was like, what kind of lifestyle are we talking about? And he mentioned, well, I'm a swinger. And I got excited. I was like, oh, I need to get some new dancing shoes. To the
You
east,
thought
by the west. I got really excited. So we were like, sort of like, I thought we were on the same page. Then he realized, wait a minute, I don't think she knows what I'm really. So he had to explain it to me. And I went, oh, oh, okay. So I looked at him. I'm like, sure, why not? Let's try this. I'm open. And he just like looked at me like, really? So he took me to a swingers club,
right.
in
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale. And oh my God. And he goes, so that's what they meant with Deanie's and Deerfield Beach. That was like, they would say, oh, there's the swingers club. And I thought it was like a dance place kind of thing.
Wow.
And
Okay.
this was back
Yeah.
in the 80s. So it just like, how clueless was I? So when I went there, I was like, this is a whole new world. They got a dance, they got a smorgasbord over here, and then they got the back rooms, they got the showers, they got the lockers, and it just got crowded. And I'm like, this is like a nightclub, but you guys have sex? It's like an orgy party. So why don't we say, hey, there's an orgy party going on here?
That's exactly what it's like. Yeah, I've visited myself with my boyfriend. We've checked it out. We went a few times. There's several clubs here in Montreal, and yeah, there's definitely, it's very interesting, and exactly as you described it, there's it's a club, and it's actually sometimes a very nice club
Yeah.
depending on the location, and then a lot of them have the same sort of feature where there's an upstairs, there's one level, then there's a second level, and then you
Mhm.
have this and you have that, and you can just watch or you can participate. It's all up to you. There's people who just come because they're curious, like we were, and it was fascinating. And I get it. Like I said, I get it. It was actually exciting to watch and be part of the scene, so to speak. But you have to, it suits some people, it doesn't suit others, but I totally get it. I enjoyed visiting it for sure. I get it.
Well, you know what was fascinating to me? Because, being a talk show host, and I'm always inquisitive. So I started talking to couples that are married 20, 25, 30, 40 years. Do you know what most of them, expressed to me? This saved our marriage.
Oh, 100%. I could definitely see it. I understand. And I saw that there. I saw that there were couples, and I saw that they were all different age ranges, from very young to much older. And it's fascinating. And that's the reality. It's out there. That's you have to, and if it makes you happy, and if that's something that you both agree as a couple and it's consensual, like, go for it. If it and if yes, and I believe that it probably could save some marriages and relationships, and even people who question that their sexuality and realize, oh, I kind of like both, or it's you have to realize how you know the importance of exploring who you are and
That's part of
accepting.
the process.
Yeah, and
And
accepting all that.
there can't be insecurities
No.
or trust issues.
So that's exactly what the people with polyamory experience as well, the trust. Yes, and it's the same thing. Yes, as once you go outside a relationship, there's definitely, you have to establish that and say, okay, this is just play, and we have each other, or whatever it is that you in polyamory, they actually love other people. So it's different. It's a different, oh, I could love you, but I also love them, and blah blah blah. And as long as you're, so there's all different ways that people make themselves happy. So if it makes you happy, like, go for it. Who
And
cares what other people think and say and like, oh, just, ugh.
especially if you're not forcing it on somebody, if you're
Right,
not being violent, hatred,
right.
we have enough of that shit going on in this world. Why not enjoy and have pleasure? And
Yeah.
if people had sex more often, I think there'd be a lot more peace in this world.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
As long as it's consensual.
Yes, it always has to be consensual, 1,000. Yeah. And also, yeah, consensual and with, a lot of understanding and a lot of talk. If you're living that lifestyle, if you are a
Mhm.
swinger, if you're into polyamory, etc., or any type of, where your relationship is open, then definitely you need a lot of talking. But I think as humans, that's kind of natural. In a way, it's very
It is. It's
natural.
been
Like people
around. Do you know how
always
long
been
it's been?
around.
It's been around from Egyptian times with Isis. They did like sexual and spiritual, like kind of rituals. And, you when you understand being divine and spiritual beings, sexual beings, connecting those two together, that's where you can raise the vibrations of consciousness and like have out of body experiences. Sometimes I've been there. I know exactly, like when I tell you this, I can't make this shit up.
No, 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 I believe you. I know that there's like, for instance, tantric sex. I
Yeah.
know that. So I've experienced that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like, whoa. So yeah, I get it. And I wish that more people would be more understanding and not push their beliefs and their little inner prisons that they're living onto others, because the bottom line is you have to be happy. And I always tell my kids that I just want you to be happy. That's it. I don't, everything
That's
else
right to
will
my
come.
kids. Just be
just
happy.
just
Be
be happy.
you.
Yeah, be happy, be you, and that's it. Like, who cares what others think? I mean, I've given up on that a long time ago, but I wasn't always like that. And so I'm telling those people who are younger, please do not let others' beliefs, stop you from being you and being happy.
Create the belief that resonates with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that gives you uplifting, inspiration, motivation. Those are the beliefs that you want.
Yeah. I agree. Yes.
I change my beliefs, I change what I value.
Transitions, right?
Yep,
Bottom
I love
line.
this talk. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know it was gonna go there, but
Hey, but age is not our cage, so
no,
hey.
age is not my I broke that cage, yeah, a couple of years ago. So yeah, I would just let it go and just be you and
I,
explore, if you need to explore, because
yeah.
you never know, like maybe, you're gonna resonate with a certain lifestyle that like that's what's gonna bring you joy. Like, go for it. Don't be afraid.
Well, what I meant to even say earlier is being, in the swinging lifestyle with my partner. It's we get to enjoy each other with other people, but
Yes.
it's also, you know, enjoying the sexual energy, our sexuality, and even dressing up. You
Oh,
know,
that's fun.
oh yeah, it is so much fun. Let me tell you.
Yeah, 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 I can imagine.
And being in that, the small circle of, you connect with people, you become friends with them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I love that aspect. And I'm like, I didn't discover this until I turned 50. So yeah, it's been like fat at the fabulous 50.
That's why they call it the fabulous 50s and they call it the sexy 60s. There's a reason.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, for sure. And so that's and it's interesting that we let go of a lot of BS that we've learned in our lives and we just become who we really are and what we want to do and what we want to be, whether it's your lifestyle, your vocation, and just how you live your life. Like, just do it. Just be authentic to yourself, because stop caring what other people think. I lost my best friend because I decided to do a podcast. I mean, ridiculous things. So who cares? Just be you.
So what we both can say to the younger generation:
Yeah.
discover who you are. Don't wait until you're our age to figure everything. Like, Do it now.
Yeah, if you know in your heart of hearts, don't be afraid. Explore, see who you really are. If you want to act, if you find you have different beliefs, want a different lifestyle, like just go, try, experiment. It's important to know who you are.
And have all the experiences. There you might have some good ones, you might have some bad ones, but at least you're going to gain wisdom, have knowledge and understanding about it, to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you,
Yeah.
what you will take and what you will not take. That's the whole journey of life.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that's why I
Mhm.
say age is not my cage.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be even if you're younger. It shouldn't be your cage either. If you're a 20-year-old, age should not be your cage. Go and experience life. Don't think because you're so young that you have to fit into the box. No, 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 no. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's
And just
never
because
okay.
other people are doing certain things doesn't mean, if it doesn't sit well with you, pay attention to that. You don't have
Yeah,
to follow that, follow that.
yeah.
And part of my coaching is, a lot of the kids, they're hurting, they don't know how to express their thing, so that's when my coaching, you know can come in hand and say, hey, you're just covering up your guilt, your shame, by using these vices and whatnot. And that's where addiction comes in, and we don't
Oh,
want
yeah.
that, do we?
No, no, you don't.
So yeah, we learned the hard way on that one.
I hear you. I hear you. No, addiction is, you fill a void. That's
Hmm.
basically the bottom line. You're filling a void. I know a lot of people who self-medicate for many reasons. So,
Because you don't want to
explore
deal with the
that.
trauma. You
Yeah,
don't
you don't
want
want
to deal
yeah.
with the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whether it is a trauma, whether it is simple as you have attention deficit disorder and it's not being recognized, so you're self-medicating so just you can function. Like there's many different reasons why people turn to self-medicating, turn to and be and experience addiction, even having phone addiction. That's a whole other, that's something that I deal with a little bit, cell phone addiction. I did a show on that as well. That it's like I go to sleep with it, I wake up with it, and it's always like I have it right here. It's like it's always like I have to stop. And sometimes I turn it off for a few hours and I just like hide it, even though I'm hiding it. Of course I can find it.
Right?
But it's just but just the, it's just, it's sort of like symbolic of I'm not going to look at it for a few hours. So what is that all? That's a type of dopamine. If you are, if I'm having, I put a post and all of a sudden, I have 10,000 views, there's like a dopamine rush. It's very similar. It's weird. It's weird.
You know what I've done to avoid getting into that is because another podcaster, because I'm always looking and studying other podcasters and these podcaster courses and whatnot. And
Right.
one that did stuck out at me, he's like, all you got to do first thing in the morning, 30 minutes, you go through, you could do it in 15 minutes, but and I don't do this until, the only thing when I get on my phone is I do a meditation, and I use my phone for my meditation. When I
Right.
get up in the morning, I go outside, put my earbuds, and I just listen and just get my feel good vibrations up. And then I stop there, wait, put it down, get myself ready, have my coffee and whatnot. Then I'll come back to it. And then I'll go through my social media and whatnot and just respond to any notifications that I have. I time myself. You got 15
That's
minutes.
smart. Yeah.
Because I'm so organized and I don't want to I cannot stand being on a computer. I don't like being on my phone, but I don't want to follow, like, because I observe everybody on their phone constantly. And I'm like, where is your connection with human beings now?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, during the
100%.
pandemic was one thing. That was the only way to stay connected. But
Yeah.
now we've got addicted.
Exactly what happened to me. So I'm learning to separate myself because that was my connection to the world, was my laptop and my phone. This is like where I lived. So I didn't see
So,
anyone except for my boyfriend and my son who lived with me, and that was it. It was a strange way of living, and I became dependent on it. So now I'm like, I'm
So I
learning.
have, I mean, granted, now I have a business, it's my show and everything. So between it's either 30 to 60 minutes, an hour, just to do what I need to do, then take it away, and then go focus on something else.
Yeah.
So I got the
Important.
morning, then I'll have afternoon, lunch break or something. 15, 30 minutes to touch base on anybody, answer emails, then go back to work on something else. And
Yeah.
then my next time will be towards the evening. So it's
Yeah.
like 3 times a day, Monday through Friday. Boom. That's all you really need.
100%. Even if you creating content, you could do that in a night. Take an hour of your day, do batch videos, for instance, because I do content, and just that's it for the day. You've done it. You can save it, and you can post every day at 8 p.m. or something, or 6 p.m. So yeah, there are ways to get around it. 100%. And that's my journey now, is to just sort of like separate myself from it. And it is a type of addiction, but yes, it is something that is an offshoot of being locked in for so long, that it became a dependency of sorts. So yeah, there's all different types of addictions, aren't there?
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's a transition. And now I got Canva Pro that I use. So I could schedule everything to be posted.
Oh,
So I could do like Monday, Wednesday, or Friday posting on my show. Even though I'm on the computer, I'm not using my phone. It's both of these things, my computer and my phone. I need to take a break from, because here's a science aspect. I don't know if you know about this, Esther, but these devices, electronic devices, lowers our frequency vibrations too. That's when I got like
I didn't know
understood
that.
that. Yeah, it lowers the frequency because the electromagnetic, because we're electromagnetic as well. So we're trying to raise our vibrations and our frequencies up and our consciousness up, right? What does the negative? It's the computer and everything. So I've learned, oh, no wonder my vibrations are going down and I can't keep them up because I'm always at these devices.
Interesting. Okay. Take
So that
taking
makes
note of
me,
that.
it makes me disciplined on how much time I spend with these devices so I could go back and recharge.
Right.
Keep
All
my
right.
vibrations, my frequencies up. Nature, breathing.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's just a, nugget that I could share with
Thank
everybody.
you. Interesting. Love it. This has been great. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. I enjoyed this so much. I love having conversations with people like you. It's just a pleasure, a joy, and enlightful. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, same here. Feel the same way. Love the conversation.
And
And
I look forward to being on your show coming.
yes, yes. Will you talk about your lifestyle?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. That'll bring the people in.
If I can't be honest with myself, how am I going to be honest with everyone else? And not for
100%.
nothing, it's like this is what gives me joy. This is what gives me pleasure. Plus, I don't want somebody later using that to exploit me. So I'm just like, I'm going to be open now because then you motherfuckers cannot use this against me later.
Exactly. Bravo to you.
So I'm playing it smart.
Yeah. Good for you.
And hey, if you see pictures of me, hey, did I look good? Did I have, did I dress nice? Kind of thing.
That's the bottom line, right? Like, oh, she was doing, XYZ, but she looked amazing. That's all
Yeah.
that counts.
Yep. As long as I looked good.
Love it. That's great. Looking forward to that as well.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Esther, so much. I look forward to staying connected with you, and
100%.
it's just truly amazing. Thank you so much. And you look gorgeous.
Oh, stop. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
So there you go. You never know what I'm going to talk about, and you never know who I'm going to get on this show. So you got to stay tuned to Wake Up with KC.